Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Bobby Spiegel. I'm the President and CEO for the Corona Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to today's call. Those of you that are able to log in and be live on the call, that is awesome. We're so glad you are. Those that are listening to this at a later date, please know that every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Pacific time, we have this ongoing Corona Chamber business briefing. The intent behind this is a 100% support from our board of directors for us to be involved in the advocacy outreach and to bring you up to date on what is going on a regional, statewide, and federal level. We have engaged and have a contract with a gentleman that helps us through his business, and he does all the heavy lifting. He'll be properly introduced later on. What I want to do today, though, is just thank all of you for being on the call, and I want to properly introduce our chair for our advocacy outreach. His name is Jeff Miller. He's a local businessman here in Corona. He serves on my board of directors. Prior to that, he was elected as our state assembly member, and he served in the state of California working on behalf of all the businesses. What I love about Jeff is he's been a business owner for many years, and he understands what it takes. He understands your struggles from an employment standpoint to paying electric bills or whatever it may be that you have to pay. He knows how to put budgets together and what it takes to when revenues don't meet those budgets, and you have to make those tough decisions to cut expenses. That's so unlike most of our elected officials that serve in Sacramento. So we've got an upper hand by having Jeff here. Prior to Jeff being an elected state assembly member, he was our mayor in Corona and on the city council for a number of years, and he just brings a wealth of knowledge. I love how he can work with pretty much anyone. Please welcome our chair for today and for this year, Jeff Miller.
Thank you, Bobby. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's business briefing. I assume everybody can hear me okay, and let's get right into it. Today's briefing is sponsored by Norco College. Norco College is a 2-year public institution of higher education, one of 3 colleges in the Riverside Community College District. They offer over 80 majors, including certificates, degrees, industry credentials, short-term certificates. Thank you, Norco College, for being a champion for higher education and serving our community. Reminder, there's a chat button on the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, just type them into the chamber host, and we'll put you in the queue for answering questions. I want to thank, I always like to recognize our nonprofits that are on the call. And again, today we have Peppermint Ridge. Hi, Danny. Hi, Jim. And thank you for coming on the call. And I know they are looking for employees. So that's a good thing for our business community. It's a good thing for our community. Nonprofits in town are the real fabric of our community, and they do amazing work, and Peppermint Ridge is just one of them. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Anthony for announcements.
Thank you, Jeff. Just a few announcements today. One of the really special announcements that we have is our job fair this upcoming Saturday. While registrations are closed for upcoming exhibitors, anyone who wants to exhibit, I do apologize. Registrations did fill up. We have over 45 companies who are attending, and they are offering more than 2,000 jobs combined. So we are very excited and proud to have this amount of draw to our job fair. If you know of anyone who is seeking a job, please share this information with them. We have been getting a lot of buzz from our billboards that have went up. So we expect this to be a very well-attended job fair. We have some awesome door prizes and giveaways that we will be doing, including a 65-inch TV. So job seekers can RSVP now to be entered to win. However, there is no registration required to attend the event. Feel free to walk in, walk up, and get some, make some connections and apply for some jobs if you know of anyone that is job seeking. So I will go ahead and put the registration or put the link below so anyone can go ahead and check that out. The next thing I wanted to announce is our ELR applications. Our upcoming ELR program year is just around the corner. So this 10-month program is designed for local leaders to expand their knowledge of what Corona has to offer and gives a behind-the-scenes look at a variety of industries in the region. You get to build relationships with other leaders and design a community impact project. I know a lot of you on the call are past ELR graduates. So thank you so much for joining the program. Spread the word around, and applications do close this Friday. So if you know of anyone that wants to apply or that you think would be really good for the program, either connect them with me or give me their information and I can reach out to them. Our last update that I wanted to give is about our Coffee with an Entrepreneur program. It is returning. We took a little break on this past July. However, it is returning on a new date on Thursday, August 4th. Yes, Thursdays. It will be going forward Thursdays of every even month. So every other month starting in August. This next August 4th Coffee with an Entrepreneur, we will be having guest speaker Marina Miller joining us to share her story as an entrepreneur. As always, this program kicks off at 8 a.m. here at the Chamber. It is free to attend. So register now and come hear how this U.S. Army veteran founded M Health and Beauty here in Corona. So like I said, I will post all the links in the chat below and feel free to check all those out. Back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Anthony. Before I get into Jeff Gibson, I'd like to give our chair of the board a moment to say a few words and say hi. I always love just putting her on the spot. See how quick she is.
I just
Bender,
breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, Jeff. So lovely to be on here. I just thought, Bobby must have told Jeff, don't give her a slot. She goes on too long. So I was like, oh, I'm good. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you, Jeff. Encourage everybody to turn up on Saturday. Even if you're not exhibiting, come and give us a hand. It's going to be a lot of setting up, and it's our first ever job fair. And I believe it's Corona's biggest ever job fair. And Anthony, that's great to hear that we'll have over 2,000 jobs. My company has about 40 openings right now. And so, we love, and then who do you know who's miserable in their job? I mean, hopefully not our own employees, you know what I mean? People who are commuting, that are traveling long distances, that may not even be actively looking, but they're just interested. They can tell others about it. Just encourage them to attend. And everybody that comes and registers at the Corona desk will be entered in for the TV drawing, and we're going to be giving away gift cards on our booth, so I know all the exhibitors will have fun things. And then the other thing I just wanted to say was, one of the reasons, my main reason for joining the chamber was to stay up to date and be connected with people, but stay up to date with business and legislation and what's coming down the pike, as we say in England. And hearing Dr. Christopher Thornburg at a fabulous economic summit on Friday was so good. It's given me a little bit of confidence about the future. He said, even though we have an overheated economy, business will grow. So he said, don't jump in your bunker just yet, but don't go too far from it. And I thought that was really good advice. Just let's stop complaining about prices and let's just get on with making it through and navigating through this upcoming economy. But the key thing that really affects us right now is there are 2 people, he said, 2 jobs for every 1 person looking. So that isn't going to change. This is going to be a jobless recession, if that makes sense. So that we need to continue to support our local economy and our employers here in town by helping them attract workers that are currently out working in other cities right now. Okay, thank you. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Come and say hello to us. All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Paul Bender. Appreciate that. And please engage in the job fair. And it's in a weird way, it's nice to hear all these jobs are available in our community. If we're ever going to be able to help relieve traffic congestion, we need to do our best to encourage people to live, work, and play in our community. So those are some of the things that we work on here in the Legislative Affairs Committee. All right, so Jeff Gibson owns Occidental Communications Group. And for 35-ish years, Jeff has specialized in political consulting, government affairs, government relations, and has specialized in a variety of areas, including environmental, transportation, housing, economic, and was the author of Jessica's Law back in 2006. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Jeff, for your presentation.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Let me just check and make sure that I am not muted. So we're off and running today. And that was great to hear that the Thornburg presentation went well. And so what we're doing today is we're looking at some of the issues that the legislature is spending a huge amount of time on that we'll be spending a huge amount of time on in August. So the legislature has made a couple of key changes before they left with the state budget and the passage of a couple of emergency laws. One of them, as we've discussed, is California jumped in with both feet into the coal energy market and is now the largest buyer of coal energy, obviously after India and China, on the spot market in the world. And so we are here encouraging the state to use more natural gas because we don't have a history of using coal in this state. But unfortunately, the legislature is kind of moving in that direction. So we're making that case because we have to live under climate change issues. The second case that the legislature changed substantially, and this is good news for the city of Corona as a policy and as a community. It creates more challenges in the housing market, in that the legislature passed a bill on basically an emergency basis to suspend its own housing rules for 3 years. And for Southern California was under an order to produce 1.5 million units of housing. If you remember, we've talked about this at the city of Corona with the mayor, Wes Speak, and others, that Corona was basically under a state order to produce 31,000 units of housing locally. And because there was an affordability crisis. The city has been working diligently on that. We've been working diligently on that. We've worked diligently with the city and the county, Karen Spiegel, among them, to get the state to reconfigure its standards because they work on what's known as a regional housing needs assessment, which is an 8-year plan. That 8-year plan has now been given, cities have now been given 3 extra years to answer what their 8-year plan is going to look like. So that's great. We're very happy about that. And so we decided to dive into housing because there's lots of housing bills that we are monitoring, and we only bring bills to you that we can be effective in. So here's the situation with housing right now. Affordability was reported today by the Department of Treasury to be at an all-time low. In fact, the words that the Department of Treasury used, so this is the Biden administration, is that we are in a housing recession. So that's extremely key to how people invest, because that's the number one investment that 75% of Americans make over their lifetime is in their housing. So the market currently, so there's 4 facts that you can take with you in the next week to understand how the legislature is going to be looking at the housing market and how we're going to be working with the legislature. The first is that the market is experiencing a 22-year low in mortgage origination, which means that there are fewer mortgages being created in the United States than at any time since the year 2000. So so far in this century, this is the lowest rate that we've seen. The all-time high in the price of American housing for purchase. It was reached this month when the average American home for sale went to $416,000. So the basic affordability is at its absolute peak. Year over year, the mortgage rate has gone up by almost 80% as interest rates have ticked up in a bid to defeat inflation. So those are going to be some big things that we're paying attention to going forward, and we're going to be working with the legislature on. And those are things that you can keep in mind when you're making your business decisions. And then finally, one of the things that we have been working with the legislature to do is to get rid of the double coverage or the double jeopardy, if it were, that a lot of cities and housing builders face in the creation of housing, where you get the state having one set of rules, the county having one set of rules, the city having one set of rules, and oftentimes, or many times, not oftentimes, but many times they don't, they contradict each other. In the example that we've used, or that beaches across California are under an order from the state to post warnings that mercury is naturally occurring in salt water, which if anyone's taken a high school chemistry class, they know that. They're also under a secondary order to from the Coastal Commission not to improve the coastline by posting warning signs. And so both agencies are locked in a battle amongst each other and with local beach communities on exactly what to do. And it's not that the local community doesn't want to post warnings if necessary. It's that if they do, they face a $10,000 fine for improving the coastline. We here at the Chamber operate on a way to try and eliminate that double jeopardy of regulation that has caused affordable housing, which is housing that is designed for people that are making less than 80% of the median income in a city like Corona. So about $65,000 a year. Those units can cost up to 100% more than actual market rate units because of delays, because of regulations, because of all sorts of different issues. So we're trying to cut basically the red tape. But with that, so that's what we're going to be advocating for over the next 4 weeks. The legislature has 30 days to do its job in Sacramento, and then as soon as that's done, the legislature's done there, we're going to be going to Washington, D.C. to also advocate for issues on our next slide. So if anybody has any questions, happy to discuss whatever questions you may have.
Thank you, Jeff. We did have one question that came in, and that is, can you put the housing requirements in perspective for Corona? How many units are we needing per state law?
Per state law, we are required to produce 6,600 affordable units. There are about 45, I believe there are about 65,000 units of housing in Corona currently. You think about a city about the size of Corona, you have about 65,000 to 75,000 units. So about 10% of our housing stock in by the year 2028 will have to be, according to state code, this isn't Jeff saying it, this is actual state code, will have to be new affordable units. But the only way to produce those units is to have those units produced as part of a larger market rate project. And generally the ratio is about 7 units of market rate, anywhere from 5 to 7 units of market rate housing for every 1 unit of affordable housing. So if you look at 6,600 units, that's a huge number. That is more housing than has been produced probably in Corona in the last, oh goodness, probably 18 years, I would guess. Jeff, about 18
Yeah.
to 20 years. At least since
the largest, yeah.
Yeah, the largest project that since the Great Recession 2008 that was approved was the Bedford Project, and which it was called Arantine Hills previously, and that was 1,600 units, and they've produced about 400 currently. And so, and that's just there. Dos Lagos, if you throw in Dos Lagos and if you throw in some of the other larger projects, you still don't get to 6,600 units. So that's a substantial number. And then when you figure that you have to produce 5 to 7 units on top of that of market rate, now that's where you get into it's 31 to 32,000 units of housing that would have to be produced to be in compliance with state code. And that's where folks like myself and in the community say, you're asking us to produce 50% of our housing stock. It took us 110 years to get the housing stock, the number of units that we have currently. And you're seeing that all over Southern California, except in areas like Norco, which has a number of different areas that could easily absorb larger residential numbers. And they ended up with, I believe, if somebody's on the call and can correct me, I believe they ended up with about 600 units of requirement. So the numbers were not, did not pencil out in any sort of way where you can look at it and go, okay, well, that makes sense. They're trying to put the housing where there's available land within an existing city. So you're not going out and taking agricultural land or something, or open space or protected lands that we all agree need to be protected. But that's how that was. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jeff. There are no other questions, so you can move on to your next slide.
All right. So looking at gas prices, we looked at gas prices last week, and precisely what's happened. There's been a number of different things. We've had the fist bump summit with Saudi Arabia that everyone was so excited about. And there were a huge amount of announcements this morning that broke about 8 o'clock our time. And basically, it's the global production is near capacity. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, two pieces, or a piece of good news, ostensibly, is that Russia will maintain all of its international delivery contracts, including with Europe and California. California is one of the largest buyers. So not only are we now one of the largest buyers of coal energy for all of us who are paying our climate change taxes at the pump, and every time we turn on the air or every time we do something because we follow the law and we play by the rules, once they're set, and we advocate loudly here at the Corona Chamber for how those rules should be set equitably. And but one of the things that we don't discuss in the state is we are now one of the largest buyers of coal energy in the world. We're also one of the largest buyers of Russian oil in the world. And because we refuse to buy oil that has been fracked, and all fracking is the re-drilling of an existing well for more oil, and that's essentially what fracking is. It's a horrible name. I completely understand. I do not like the name. I don't think it's very accurate to what it's actually describing. But I didn't make up the name. I wasn't asked. So it's the name that's used, and it's the requirement that the state puts in. And so there we are. So it's good news in an odd way for California that you wouldn't expect that Russia is going to be fulfilling its international contracts. Now, this shows to me that we probably should come up with a better energy solution in our state than buying a single drop of oil from Russia. So, but that's okay, because we also buy oil from Venezuela, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia. So those are our 4 leading sources of oil. So I don't think any of those countries' leaders share a lot of our values, but that's just, I'm just describing to you what actually is occurring. The second, and what we're committed to stopping. I mean, we should be buying oil from countries, from domestic production sources in countries in which we know it's being produced as cleanly as possible and equitably as possible by people that value the things that we value. The second piece of this is that both Saudi Arabia and the United States have announced in the last week that they are at or near full capacity. One of the things that we've been trying to do as a country is get the international markets, especially Saudi Arabia, to produce more oil. And they have announced today that they have a little or no extra proven reserves to produce more oil because they are at 100% capacity. International groups line up with the Saudis and say that they don't have the ability. The reason Saudi Arabia is so important here is because they generally have so much excess capacity. So they currently don't. So for the last several days, oil prices have dropped in anticipation of the Fist Bump Summit. Again, not my name. That's the White House's name for the work they did in Saudi Arabia, and that was the Saudis' response. On the United States front, we have substantially more proven reserves. In fact, we actually have more proven reserves of oil in this country than are in Saudi Arabia. But we have not given any sort of additional capacity to those markets through government permitting. That was in process when President Biden became president. In fact, this week, it looks like he is going to announce that he's going to be taking current permits off of the market. So actual productive capacity would be lost. But we have that capacity. We have the oil wells drilled. We have the oil, all of the pipelines in place. All of that is available if we decide to make a different approach. We're definitely going to be going to Washington, D.C. to have those types of discussions, not because we're taking a side in whether or not we should be worried about climate change. We're worried about right now. We're worried about your bottom line. One, two, we're worried about a number of different things that are going to be going on. So anyway, with that, Anthony, any questions?
There are no questions that came in. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, off to you, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff Gibson. Appreciate it. Before we get off the call, I'm going to, I always like to put Corona Regional Medical Center on the spot. I don't know if Linda has any quick updates on COVID numbers. I'm always curious how we're doing as a community. But before we do that, I just want to thank a few folks that are on the call. Jason Scott's on the call. He's former mayor, former council member here in the city of Corona. Annette DeMont is on the call from the Riverside County Office of Education. And from the fine city of Wildomar, hello, Kimberly Davidson. And Linda, are you? Oh,
yes, I am on. But first of all, I just want to say congratulations to Jason. Not only is he a former city council, but he's a newlywed. So congratulations, Jason and Karen. Unfortunately, COVID is up. I don't think that's news to anybody. You all know that. Our patients hospitalized has climbed, and not to an alarming level, but certainly it's more robust than it has been in previous months. The other thing I think, and Sam shared this last week, is that we have quite a few employees out with COVID. So the word is it's highly contagious, but not very severe in the symptoms. So just be careful and wear masks where you feel they're appropriate and stay safe and healthy.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Okay, with that, unless anybody has anything they'd like to cover, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn our meeting. I hope everybody has a great summer left of the month of July here. once the legislature gets back in session, that's when all the dirty deeds done dirt cheap happen, late August and early September. So I guarantee you we're going to have some shocking items that pop up at the end of the legislative session in the form of gut and amend, which simply means the legislature takes language out of an existing bill and inserts their language into it without it going through any public hearings, and it gets sent to the floor for a vote. So anyways, this is going to be an interesting year to see what transpires towards the end of session. And I guarantee you, between me and the chamber and Jeff Gibson, we're going to stay on top of it and be able to get you informed on what's transpiring. Again, congratulations to Jason and Karen. With that, have a safe week, and the meeting is adjourned.